Hello and welcome to episode 21 of In PS We Trust. My name's Davey and joined with me as always is Phil.
I'll be waiting for you on the beach.
And Spencer.
Hot as cunt today, boys.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? A couple of times on this podcast we've had to start it off by saying that it is hot as all balls here in the UK. And today is no exception. It is ridiculous. It's hitting close to 26 degrees, I think, today, lads.
It was 28 earlier.
28 earlier in sunny Costa del Newport. Jesus Christ. It's a madness. So this episode, you might notice that Phil might have more cars come past. You might notice that there's cats coming in and out of the place. It's not going to sound as good as some of the earlier episodes, I imagine. But it all depends on how good my editing is. Because I'm on the edit today, boys, so you know it's going to be a good one. But how are you guys coping with this insane heat?
I had a fan, but I've taken it downstairs because that's loud as fuck. But my window opens both vertically and horizontally. It's full swing, wide open. And as you can see, because we're on video, I am in my boxers right now. So that's my strategy.
Blind listeners, you are missing out. Spencer looks like Zangief across from me with his chest hair out. It's nuts. I don't know how it grows like that. It's like really dark in the center and then like kind of patchy out. It's really weird, but he looks like Zangief. It looks great.
It reminds me of one of those lads on a stag do where they have like the stick on. All he's missing is the gold chain.
He's like Austin Powers.
Gold chain, you say? Hold on.
There it goes. That completes the look.
Looks class. Listeners, I'm sorry you can't see that. I'm really am. You've missed out.
We could always take some screenshots. Spencer turns his camera straight off.
Class.
That is a sight.
So, I suppose it's time to bring this on to what are we drinking today? Spencer, as you're sitting there, top off, chain on, Zangief hair all over the place, what are you drinking today? What complements that strong look?
I think you'll be surprised, but I figured the only thing that could complement a look such as this is a nice bottle of red wine, which I have a nice £5, 13% Chianti from Italy.
That is the last thing I think anyone expected to come from you, Spence. You're drinking. Yeah. You're on the red wine tonight.
I am. I went to Asda, Tesco even, to buy a crate of buds, and they didn't have any. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Wine's a £5. Bought 2 bottles. The other one it's a nice Merlot, Belgium, and it's downstairs in my fridge.
That's funny as fuck. Red wine in a fridge just because it's hot outside. Brilliant. Love it. I'm quite proud of you that you're pronouncing Merlot correctly, though, Spence.
Well, I said a Merlot.
I've heard it many times from different people. Yeah, Merlot.
That's dreadful.
I have a Merlot, and what's the other one people seem to get wrong?
Don't know. Drinking wine for a week, mate. I have no idea.
Grenache? Could it be a Grenache?
I don't know.
On the Grenache.
People seem to make the mistake all the time, don't they?
I mean, I'm not into wine here, so I can't pass any real judgment on your choice of wines. Phil, as the kind of wine connoisseur of this podcast, you know, you normally got your dehumidifier or whatever they call it for wines. You got that pouring in the background behind you automatically, you know, airing the wine, getting that, you know, whatever the fuck that even does to red wine. I don't even understand it. What is the verdict on those choices with the Merlot and the Chianti?
Well, Spence hasn't really given us a lot of detail over what Chianti he has or what Merlot he has or Merlot he has, as the French would say. But I'd imagine it's going to be pretty entry level, judging purely on the price. But if it gets you pissed and Spencer's enjoying it, why not?
Thank you.
Very true. Well said. And what about yourself, Phil? What are you on today? What nonsense have you pulled out of the ether to surprise us all with today?
I feel like this podcast has almost gone full circle. So Spencer's gone for the wine. I've gone for your average, everyday Foster's Lager.
Wow.
Making its podcast debut, the classic Foster's. Wow.
That's
How
crazy.
is it? I haven't had a Foster's in years.
It's probably one of the nicest things to drink on a day like this. Just a nice, cool lager. I couldn't think of anything better. I don't want a Ponzi Brewdog, or I don't actually want to be drinking wine right now. I just think cool lager on a blistering day like today. You can't get better.
Fair.
It is an Australian beer. Can you give us an Australian accent?
I cannot.
Well, moving on from that then, I'm on Estrella, lads. Not much more to say about it. I mean, it's just the best beer ever made, in my opinion. I love it. It's a classic for the podcast. And do you know what? We're in the next 10 episodes now following the big quiz. So I got to start off strong. You know, I got to bring in the 20s hard. So what better way than the classic Estrella? Now, eagle-eared listeners will remember that last episode I won the big quiz. So that means this episode, it was a landslide. It was an absolute landslide victory.
Complete fix.
It was fixed. Mr. No Multiple Choice. Hello.
Do you know what? I wasn't even going to bring this up, okay? But now that you're pushing this back on me, it's coming out now. I had 2 separate people message me after the last episode went up.
I know exactly what you're going to fucking say.
To say that Spencer's question was bullshit, right? Even though I benefited from it by saying black holes, it was cancer. That everyone was shouting in their radios saying, it's cancer, it's cancer, it's cancer. And then Spencer's like, don't know about folding at home. I'm talking about black holes, baby. And so, sure, I benefited from it, but I feel like Phil got robbed a point. My total victory was so convincing that even if we gave Phil that point now, it wouldn't make any difference, right? I'm so far ahead.
Well, it would. It would make some difference, wouldn't it? Because I would be right about folding at home. And I'd be justified by saying that.
That's true. I feel like you were wrongly put out of a point there. So I'm willing to give you that point. And Spencer, I want an apology for that piss poor question.
Right, well, I'm not sure an apology is exactly...
Apologise to listeners, mate.
All I'm saying, I made up the other answers. PlayStation 3s were in fact used to research black holes. I never said they weren't used for cancer. I said that's not the answer I chose.
That's the thing about Google. You Google anything hard enough, there's going to be a website out there stating that's a fact.
It was like the second result, fam. What do you mean?
Top one was cancer.
Yeah, top one was folding at home. Let's not go for the obvious.
Oh, man.
Right, to be fair, I am sorry that I didn't look into whether or not it was used for cancer. But I didn't think I'd have to. I literally made it up off the top of my head, and it turns out there was a whole thing about it. So my bad.
What was the other one? Black holes, cancer, and...
And I put stars, but black holes literally are stars. That's why I put stars.
Probably been researched as well.
Why not? Everything has, at this point. Everything has. You can call off the attack dogs, okay, listeners? Spencer's apologised. We'll leave it in the past. But, as I was saying, I won by a landslide. So it means I've got 5 shots to give out this episode, which I can give out at any point. On top of that, you will remember that the Resident Evil button is active from when we get into quick news. So we got double threat today. No one's safe, boys.
As part of my apology, because Phil, was like poorly punished, I would like Phil to have a shot to give out as well. Seeing as he wrongfully took a shot that he didn't need to take.
Hey, I'll agree with that.
Do you know what? Why not? It makes it interesting, doesn't it? And I know that Phil's going to treat me the same way that I'm going to treat him tonight. So I'm going to treat him with nothing but respect.
And I'm having 6 shots.
That just means I've got to have 5 shots and you get 1, right?
Yeah, so, I'm holding all the cards here right now. So as long as Phil's good to me, I'll be good to him.
I'm fucked. What have we been playing?
Great rendition of that, Spencer. Oh, it's like an angel.
Thank you.
It's all that Merlot he's having.
Yes.
Let's stop calling it Merlot.
I like it. I've never heard it be called Merlot before. I really like it. So, Spence, why don't you start us off?
Okay. So the first thing is quick. So I just get it out of the way. I was diving through my games library thinking, well, what's a nice easy game that I can platinum? Because after platinuming Ratchet and Clank, I felt the need to get another one. And I stumbled upon a little gem in my library. And it's called Goat Simulator. Turns out this game is a 3-hour platinum.
Oh, really?
Strange that.
Yeah. So I literally just booted it up. It's really fun as well. It's actually a really fun platinum. You basically just have to do everything. So I just fucked about as a goat for 3 hours and I ended up with a platinum.
Oh, nice.
It was class.
Nice. I love goats. It was kind of out at the same time that like Octodad came out and games like that.
Yeah.
All those stupid simulator games that just came and it was like a little fad for like ages. How actually is it to play? Is it actually fun?
Well, that's the thing. Goat Simulator is literally a take the piss game. they made it as a joke to all the other simulators that were being made at the time. That's the reason it was made. But the game, it's fun. It's really fun. It's weird. It makes no sense. You can literally climb ladders and stuff, but the goat doesn't move. He just keeps walking normally as he just rises.
So what's the objective of the game? I'm missing something here. What are you trying to achieve by being this goat?
You're just a goat, mate. You just
a goat.
Yeah, it's a simulation game. You're just playing as a goat. You can lick stuff, and if you lick stuff, it gets stuck to your tongue. So for one trophy, I literally had to go to the top of a cliff, lick a boulder, and carry it down to a barbecue that people were having and kill like a load of people. And that was fun. You know, I had to carry batteries and fix a roller coaster with the batteries. It was good.
As we all know, they're battery powered.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Sounds like potential game of the gen for PS4. I mean, where was that when we were ranking out our best games of the gen?
I'd hate to ask you for a rating on this, but I'm going, Spence. Where are you placing this?
It is a game. Oh, 5. Straight down the middle. Because if it wasn't for the platinum, I wouldn't have played it. So I'll give it the 5.
Is this a game you bought, or did you get free in some way?
Free on PS Plus, maybe like 2 years ago or a year ago.
Maybe that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bought it. No shot. Do you know there's like 4 DLC for this game? There's zombie goats. There's goat MMO. Turns it into an MMO. And there's another DLC. I can't remember what it is. 1 second. Can't spell goat.
Just spell my name.
There's another 2. It's Goat Simulator Payday. And then there's Goat Simulator Waste of Space DLC, where you're just fucking about as a goat in space.
Amazing.
Great game.
3-hour platinum mind. I might have to check this out, you know.
If you have it, you're going to do it. I know you are. It's really fun as well. It's really fun.
Because I've kind of set myself something. I've kind of stumbled upon something now, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm ticking off platinums left, right, and centre at the moment. I'm on a bit of a platinum renaissance that I haven't had since probably PS3. I could probably hit 100 platinums by the end of the year without too much bother, right? I'm on 82 now, after the games I talk about today, and I reckon I can do it. Now, I don't know whether to sully my list, right, with like bullshit
My Name is
easy
Mayor
trophies. Yeah, I'm not going to do My Name's Mayor. That's totally out of the question. But do you think this would sully my list if I did Goat Simulator?
100%.
I don't, because it's not My Name is Mayo, where you're just pressing a button the whole time. You're still doing objectives. You have to go to different areas. You have to find stuff.
What happens when you get this 100 platinums, Davey? There's something special. Does the roof open up and balloons, fall down like when you get 180 at a bowling alley?
It's just one of those things that I'll just look at it and think, you've done well, kid, all right? You've done well. 100 platinums would just be hype.
It'd be hype, but the issue there is, what about when you get one more platinum and then you're on 101?
Yeah, but then you're building towards 200 then, aren't you?
You are.
180 is darts. It's 300 at a bowling alley.
Shows how bad we are at bowling.
I thought my score was great.
Where's my balloons? So is that it then for yourself, Spence? Anything else you've been playing?
Yeah, there's another thing which I started playing recently. After getting the platinum for Goat Simulator, I had the need for platinums. And every single day when I'm playing on my PS5, just to the left of my TV is a grim reminder of a platinum that I've never attained. And that's The Last of Us 1 platinum. So recently, I've booted up Last of Us, and I've been trying to slowly but surely grind out the multiplayer trophies I need. And I did it for maybe 9 hours the other day. And there's a technique for it, which is play a game, get to 20 survivors, and then quit out of 2 games, take it back down to 5 survivors, and then play again. So you skip 3 days instead of a day at a time. And that is the fastest method so far. So that's what I'm doing, but it still sucks.
So how long do you have to do? Like, is there a time limit then? Is it? It's like you've got to survive for so many weeks. Is that how it works to be able to get these multiplayer trophies?
Yeah, basically, it's called the Firefly and the Hunter Journey, the trophies. And you pick a side, and then you have survivors. And you need to keep those survivors alive for 10 weeks, because that's when evacuation comes. So if you can keep them alive for 12 weeks, you get the trophy. And if they die before the 12 weeks, it resets and you have to start again. Each time you play the game, it's 15 minutes per game. A game is a day. It's long.
So how far have you got through it then?
I'm about 8 weeks into the Firefly journey, so 4 weeks left, and then I have to do the Hunter journey after that.
And you said you put about 9 hours in so far for those 8 weeks.
Yeah, but I was already on 5 weeks, so...
Oh my god,
Oh my
it's going to
God.
take you ages.
yeah.
Oh my god, well, good luck with that. You can count me out joining you on that journey.
But at least this
Yeah,
this trophy will mean something to you, you know? You've
It'll mean a
worked
lot.
hard at it, and you've looked at that trophy and gone back and forth and thought, you know what, I'll go back to that because I love that game. I think this trophy will mean a lot more to you than the Goat Simulator Platinum. Come on.
Oh, certainly, yeah. The issue was, I went to do it again. I went to grind for another day the other day. And instead, I booted up the game and I just saw the main menu and I thought, oh, you know what, fuck it. And I just played the story instead. 'Cause it's the best part of the game. It's so phenomenal. I just booted up one of my saves, which is when you're visiting Tommy. I just played that area and I was like, fucking hell, this game's perfect. So I think what I'll do is get this platinum, replay the story, and then platinum Last of Us 2.
Nice. Not all platinum trophies are created the same, are they? 3 hours versus this time sink of The Last of Us.
But as you said, think of the size of your balls when you finish that. That's a big deal. You got chonkers. You got big, bulging balls. And I respect it. I respect it. If you do it, I respect it. Because it's just like with my Returnal Platinum last episode. You know, it took me ages to do it. It took me like 35 hours. But it's just a good feeling when you actually do it. It's an accomplishment. And that's something that you don't get from a bullshit, easy, my name's Mayo.
Yeah, I know what it felt like when I platinumed Little Big Planet, the original one. It was a great day. Really happy with myself about that trophy.
Yeah, I can tell, me. So I've got 2 more games I've been playing. One of them I'll skim over very quickly, and that is A Plague Tale Innocence, which was the PS5 offering for this month's PS Plus.
Oh, nice.
Brilliant game so far. I've only done the first chapter. My girlfriend is literally behind me playing it right now, well ahead of me.
Is this how you get your platinums? Your missus plays them behind you.
She's on her account. I'm only on the first chapter, but you play as Amicia. You're looking after your little brother Hugo. You're in the 1300s, and I think you're just trying to survive. There's this whole mystery afoot kind of thing, and I've no idea. I'm nowhere near deep enough into the game to even try to explain it. All I know is I've got to save my little bro, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Hugo is such a strong name, especially for like a
name.
boy. It's like certain names for certain people, you grow into them, right? So when he's like 42, Hugo is going to really suit him. But until he hits that age, it's just always going to be a bit off, isn't it? You know, it's like Betty. My grand's called Betty, but, you know, do you call your kid Betty at birth? No.
No, you rename yourself when you're 52, then you.
Yeah, you do. Minimum age, 52.
Yeah.
That's minimum age. That's the borderline. That's the cutoff point where you can now get your Betty license. You know, before that, you're not getting it. It's just not allowed.
The other game I've been playing, which I'm sad to say isn't on PlayStation, is Guilty Gear Strive. That game is fucking sick. I only bought it the other day, but I've been playing it on Steam, and I've been family sharing it with my friend Brandon for the past few weeks. And we've been putting in the graft. We've actually been playing that game so much. I think it could be the next big fighter if enough people get into it. It is phenomenal to play, and I'm loving every second of it.
Nice.
Well, yeah, it's done by Arc System Works, isn't it?
It's done by ArcSys, and it's got rollback netcode, so that's the big thing.
How do you feel it compares to like Dragon Ball Fighters? Because obviously that was the game that we sweated, or I certainly sweated quite a lot of on PS4. In fact, it's my most played game on PS4. You didn't put as much time into that game as I did, but you certainly have enough experience to be able to compare the two.
I'd say Guilty Gear is a harder game, but that's because it's a Guilty Gear. They've usually been the most technical games in terms of fighters. The combo system's quite similar to fighters rather than the whole super dash, all that kind of stuff, and Dragon Rush. Instead, you have a grab, which is busted, but the range is dog shit. But it's like Invincible Frame 1. It beats everything. Whenever a move's invincible, it still loses the grab. So grab's really good, you just have to be spaced for it. And then this aerial combos do still exist, but they come off a move called Dust. So if you charge your Dust, it's an overhead, and you hold up, you fly into the air with them, and it basically forces them to use their burst, which is like their breakaway in Mortal Kombat. Their like combo breaker kind of tool. But a lot of people end up dusting, jumping up there, waiting for them to use the burst, and then combo them afterwards, and they both just fly and fall, and nothing's happened. And that's really fun. But there's a whole wall break system where you launch them into a wall. You have to consecutively bounce them off the wall in order to break it. And then you get extra damage if you manage to punch them through. It's just really good. The combo system feels amazing. Every character feels really balanced other than Soul Bad Guy, because he's just busted. But the game's fun. The game's really, really fun.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I'm really glad you're enjoying it. It was something that originally I thought I was going to pick up day one, but I think I've just had kind of too much on my plate at the moment, and especially as I'm kind of going through a bit of a renaissance with Mortal Kombat and playing it so much at the moment that I can't imagine playing another fighter. You know what it's like. You can't juggle everything, and especially with fighting games, you've got to kind of stick your flag down and kind of stick and commit to that, and I can't juggle that Smash and Guilty Gear, so something's got to lose out, and at the moment it's been Guilty Gear, but I'm really glad you've been enjoying it. It looks like a fantastic game from everything that I have seen about it.
Fighting games always, it's like a big undertaking, isn't it? Every time you pick up a fighting game, you're going to invest a lot of time and a lot of effort into, learning all the moves and all the different characters within it. It's not something you can just really dip into and have a lot of fun with, I feel, when it comes to these sort of games. On the face of it, when a lot of people see a fighting game, they don't see all the different levels that, of course, you guys do because you've been in the competitive scene for so long.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many different kind of levels, especially with fighting games. When a casual sees a fighting game, they won't understand or they won't think about, frame data or hitboxes or any of that stuff. Whereas that's one of the first things that you kind of get a feel for that character is you get to feel them and feel kind of how they play and if that suits your play style and how you want to play that game. And then you straight away then go on to the next level, which is kind of critiquing what their strengths and weaknesses are in terms of hitboxes, frame data, stuff like that. And that can kind of teach you how to use that character to a proficient standard before you actually just get good at the game and you start learning neutral. And it's something like that casuals just don't pick up on. So they'll just start playing it and think, oh, this character's great, I really, really like him. But they won't be playing to that character's strengths, which I think is something that no matter what fighting game you're playing or what series it is, it's something that kind of innately moves with you. Like playing different shooting games and, getting headshots and stuff. Just skills that you kind of build up over time and things to look for that the untrained eye just do not see. And I find that really interesting with, fighting games. I suppose it's probably the same thing with League of Legends, Phil, in that aspect.
It's a hard comparison, I think, when you're looking at fighting games and sort of League of Legends, because I've never played any other kind of Dota-esque games before League of Legends. League of Legends is the only one I've played, so it's not like I'm transitioning from any other. Like when we played Mortal Kombat, obviously I played a lot of Street Fighter back in the day, Street Fighter 4. But those skills, there are some transitions into Mortal Kombat, but not a lot, because the techniques are very different and the setup is very different between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. But again, it's still a fighting game. But yeah, I'm not sure if your example there for League of Legends really works, because I haven't had a Dota game that I've really been into before that.
Fair. Have you got anything to add on to that, Spence?
My first tournament I ever went to wasn't for Smash, it was actually for Third Strike. And it was a Third Strike and a Marvel 3 tournament. And that was what I went to. I didn't play Marvel 3 at the time, so I went to Third Strike. I just bought a stick. I had a Mad Catz TE2 from CEX for 50 quid. And it broke about 2 hours after that tournament. I went to that tournament. I got bodied. I played friendlies with some guy, one of the TOs. And he was like, oh, mate, you're pretty good. You should join the Facebook page and try look for games and come to more tournaments. And I was just like, yeah, cheers, mate. I was ass that game. He was just trying to get a fiver out of me. I know he was. I went. I got freaking O2'd so hard. I got bodied. Went home. I learned a lot today. I'll practice a bit. Stick died 2 hours later. Took it back to CX next day. Got my 50 quid back. And I haven't really played First Strike since. I've never gotten as involved in a fighter as I have with Smash. So this is kind of, other than, I guess Dragon Ball FighterZ I tried to, but I ended up falling off the wagon for Smash. And now that Smash has died down, we started playing Mortal Kombat again, and I was trying to get involved with that. But I think Guilty Gear, I'm enjoying it so fucking much. And because I'm playing with Brandon, he's kind of new to fighters, where I feel like, as much as I've played him in the past, I've never gotten as involved as most people have. So I am technically a casual. I feel like he's a good training partner for me at the minute. So I'm enjoying this so much that I want to learn, I want to get better. And I think this is the game for me to do that.
Fantastic. And I suppose it is featuring at this year's Evo. So Evo signups are ending fairly soon. Remember, it is free to sign up. So if any of you guys are interested in competing in the tournament, bear in mind it is online, so it won't be the same experience as being at a local event. But it's all good experience. And what I would say to you guys is, do not worry how you do. Don't worry if you go 0-2. Don't worry if you get absolutely bodied, you get double perfected. It's all about the experience and you learn from it. Take the chance to sign up before it's too late, because signups are running out of time. So for myself, lads, I've been playing quite a few things. And as I alluded to earlier, I've been getting platinums out the wazoo. So I've had 2 platinums since last episode. So I'm averaging on a platinum a week at the moment, which is great. Last episode, I talked about Ratchet and Clank, and I said that I wasn't very far into it. Well, turns out after we finished recording that podcast, I started playing Ratchet and Clank the next day and just did not stop. Basically what happened was that when I was playing it, I wasn't really enjoying it too much. I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of mediocre. And you get to a level which is called the Fixer. And as soon as that level happened, the game just totally exploded. And I just felt like everything clicked, movement clicked, everything just got raised up to another level. And it just felt like a next-gen experience. And I just loved it. And I could not stop playing it. And I got the platinum on it, pretty minimal effort. As Spencer said, there's a trophy that I had to grind as well, just like Spencer had to a few episodes ago. But I just loved it. It was a great experience, really enjoyable platinum. Really, really, really enjoyed it.
Has it replaced your best game so far?
No. Returnal, I think, is a way better experience. I think it's better in pretty much every way. The only thing that I think that Ratchet does a lot better, apart from visuals, because visually it looks absolutely incredible, is the story. I think the story is really, really moving and engaging between Rivet and Clank's little relationship and Ratchet's journey that he goes on. I don't have the same kind of relationship with Ratchet and Clank as like Phil does, where he's a long-term fan, but I know enough of the characters so that when I see their alter egos that are in the different dimensions, I still got a kick out of seeing those. And I really enjoyed that, and the humor's brilliant. Really, really funny. It had me laughing out loud quite a few times across the game. And I think if you've got a PlayStation 5 and you haven't experienced this game yet, you're just missing out on a great experience. And that's all it is. I think for me, giving it a rating, I think I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a really, really enjoyable game. I don't think it does anything too revolutionary to raise it up even higher than that. But it's something that I did enjoy my time with. So apart from that, there's 2 other games that I've been playing. And this one kicked my arse. So listeners, you'll remember that me and Spencer have been working through Sackboy: A Big Adventure. How was getting that platinum trophy, Spence?
Mate, fucking hell. I thought it was a breeze in the park. I thought it was lovely. There was one trophy. Get gold on the Ultimate Knitted Night Trial. Yo, fuck that trophy. Took me like 10 hours.
No way.
I will literally have nightmares of that trophy for as long as I live. Basically, listener, what it is, the entire game is really, really simple. We explained it last episode. So it's basically just a 3D platformer that's got really, really good movement, but really, really bad netcode. And that's basically it. Story's decent. It's serviceable. Nothing amazing. Voice acting's good, but, you know, it's a basic story. And so we were kind of ebbing and flowing with this game. We had some sessions we really enjoyed, some we hated, depending on the world. And we got to the end of it, and we thought, okay, well, that's fine. We'll just tick off this last trophy, uninstall the game, and then I'll probably give it away on this podcast, right? I was like, oh, I'm so indifferent on this game. I didn't think anything of it. Then you get to this Knitted Night trial that Spencer's on about, the final one. And like Spence said, that's a good, solid 3 nights grinding that night trial. It was insane. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done for a platinum. It was incredibly hard. I got to the end of it, and it's made me appreciate the game in a whole new way. I don't know how you feel about that, Spence, but I honestly think that this trophy saved the game for me.
That trophy 100% saved it for me as well. I feel as though if we had a local experience, the game would have been better throughout. But because we played online, it kind of like numbed it to us. It made it feel worse than it actually is. But that trophy, the fact that we didn't do it online, we did it single player, and it was hard. It made us want the platinum. It made us need the platinum. It definitely made it worth all that shit netcode, and it made me just appreciate the movement in the game so much more and how difficult it actually can be.
So, guys, you said the trophy was very difficult to achieve, but what was involved in getting this trophy? What did you actually have to do?
Basically, throughout the game, you're unlocking knitted night trials. And that's basically, each world has like different segments. So there'll be like rams that knock you off. There'll be spikes. There'll be lasers. There'll be platforms you have to jump that disappear and stuff. And each time you unlock a knitted night trial for a world, it's like a speed run of each little gimmick. And then for the ultimate knitted night trial, it's a 10-minute course that just adds all of them to each other. And you have to do all of it. You can only get hit once. If you get hit again, you die. If you fall off, you die.
So you've got to perfect run it, you're saying?
You have to perfect run it within 10 minutes. And the issue with it, the reason why it was so hard, I'll say, getting 10 minutes isn't that hard. It really wasn't. The issue with it was I was trying to do it as fast as I could. So my time was like 7 minutes, 20 seconds. And I know for a fact, if I just slowed down and taken it at a nice pace, I could have easily done it within 10 minutes. But I didn't want that. I wanted it to be my fastest possible time, and that's what I did.
So as this was timed, who did the knitted night trial faster? Was it you or Davey?
My time trial was 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So Spencer absolutely slaughtered me. Now,
Ouch.
I got to say, I was trying to do this as fast as I possibly could too. But Spencer's just got an innate ability for time trials. You should see this guy on the monkey level on Astros. It's actually cracked.
Astros.
It's actually insane. And so there was no way I was ever going to beat Spence, but I had to try and just do it for myself. That's the fastest I could get, was 8:46. And I felt like a god getting that time because it is so difficult. The only time I've had a harder time trial than that was in Crash Bandicoot 1 on the time trials where you got to do the one where there's all the bridges and you're running across the sky and stuff. That is the hardest thing I think I've ever done in video games. I think that's literally the hardest thing I've ever done. And that was probably second to it.
I will say, mate, like you said, I'm cracked at speed, like the time trials and that. Whilst I was doing the Sackboy time trial, and I learned all these shortcuts, all this advanced tech where you roll off a ledge and you get extra frames to jump, and all that. I learned all this stuff, and I was running the course. And in my head, I was thinking, yo, I feel bad for speedrunners because they'll never be as fast as me. And then I freaking looked up a speedrun. It was like 4 minutes, and I was like, oh fuck, never mind. I'm slow as shit.
It's like what we were saying earlier. You know, don't get discouraged going to your first video game tournament. You think you're the shit, and then you get blasted down by the professionals. And that's what's happened there. But yeah, overall, I think the game has really raised itself up for me. I would have gone in for this game being a 4 out of 10. I really would have. I thought it was really subpar. Honestly, the worst game I've played from the launch lineup of PlayStation so far. Since doing that trophy, I think it's bumped up to a solid 6. Nothing revolutionary. Easily the worst one I've played out of these launch titles, but decent.
So one level changed it that much for you?
Yeah, it just, like Spence said, it really shows the minutiae in the movement. And it just underplays it all throughout the entire game. But it's all there if you wanted it to be. So if I wanted to play that game again, I could probably finesse it and do it really stylish. And so I can see now why PlayStation have these PS4 tournaments for it.
100%, mate. Yeah, it makes so much sense. I agree with you as well. I thought this game was going to be like a solid 4 out of 10. Now, I would agree a 6 out of 10. But again, I feel as though if we played locally or we just played on our own, it'd probably be a 7. 7 out of 10 after that knitted night trial. It's just, the netcode just fucking ruins it. And the grappling hook, mate. Do you want to talk about the grappling hook for a bit?
Oh god, yeah. Oh god, I don't. Oh god, you just reminded me of that. I might bump it down to a 5. I actually. Oh god, yeah. There's a mechanic in it which just doesn't work, and so it features for like a third of the levels, and it just doesn't work. It's just a grappling hook, but if you're playing 2-player, you just grapple onto the other player all the time, so you can't make your jumps. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, I'm putting it down to a 5. Cheers, that Spence. Yeah, thanks for that. That moment of clarity.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome. Sorry, devs. Sorry, fucking whoever developed this shit game.
Sumo Digital, do better. Do better. But bringing it home, my last game I've played is I've been playing Life is Strange 2. Unfortunately, it was on sale on the PlayStation Store, so I managed to pick up the entire collection for £15, which was an absolute steal. And I started it, and I'm now at chapter 3. So there's 5 chapters throughout the game, and each one's about 2.5 hours long, depending on how much exploration you do. I finished the first chapter and I hated it. I thought it was awful. I thought it was really, really bad. Basically, what Life is Strange 2, for those that don't know, It's a story, without giving any spoilers away, of course, it's a story about two brothers. And those two brothers have a tragic accident that happens and they have to leave home and they're walking in the wilderness. And they're Mexican heritage. So it's set in 2016, which is Trump's America. So in the first episode, all it is just proper on-the-nose racism. And it is so on the nose, and it's so overt, and it's so obvious that they'd go down this route that it's just insulting. I found it really, really insulting to play. I thought it was just top layer storytelling. I thought, oh my God, this is just so bland. Maybe somebody who's a person of color would find it like a deeper level of appreciation for it. But in terms of my experience, I just thought it was just so obvious that that's the way that you would go about telling this story. And so I just didn't appreciate it. I just didn't think it was great. Now, fortunately, what happens is in episode 2 and 3, it becomes a more personalized tale. And now the story is really kicked up a gear, and I am loving it. I honestly feel like this game is incredible. And unless they botch this with these last 2 chapters, I honestly would recommend this to everyone. This game is sensational. It is brilliant. It is a masterclass in storytelling outside of that first chapter. So if you can stick with it, it becomes incredible.
One question. Does this game have any powers of any sort, similar to Life is Strange 1?
It does, yeah. So whereas Life is Strange 1 is all about time travel, right? And it's all about manipulating time and moving time forward and backwards. So the younger brother's got telekinesis. So he can like lift things with his mind, like Jean Grey. It's like that. The story now has evolved into him trying to decide what happens if you give a 9-year-old these crazy powers. I don't know how it's going to rank up there compared to Life is Strange 1, which was an absolute masterpiece when I played it. I don't know. But next episode, I should have completed the entire thing. So I'll give you guys a thorough recommendation or a warning, depending on how it goes. But that's everything for me. So Phil, bring us home. What have you been playing?
These last 2 weeks, I haven't had a hell of a lot of time to sort of dip in and play what's on PlayStation, but I have been playing one little gem, which I know you guys have been playing as well, but unfortunately we haven't linked up on the online just yet. But I've been playing WWE 2K Battlegrounds. So this is a game from Saber Interactive and 2K Games. It was initially released on the 17th of September 2020 to generally poor reception, a Metacritic score of 57 out of 100. So Battlegrounds is a fast-paced, arcade-style fighting game. This was shipped in lieu of 2K's normally yearly WWE game, which was cancelled due to development problems, low sales, and negative reception for the previous WWE 2K20 game. I don't know about you boys, but personally I haven't owned a wrestling game since SmackDown vs. Raw in 2004.
What a fantastic game that is. That's got Goldberg in it, as far as I remember. I remember sweating all the SmackDowns and all those, all the way from PS1, all the way through until the start of PS3, I think. But my last one I played was actually on PS Now, and I played WWE 2K19. When I played Battlegrounds, it was bad. It was really bad. And the worst thing about it is, Goldberg is locked. He's my favourite wrestler, and he's locked. And so I've played it now for about 4 or 5 hours, just so I can finally unlock him. And it's not made the game any better. I'm not going to lie. It's not helped it one bit. But what are your thoughts on it, Phil?
Well, when I saw it included in the PS Plus lineup this month, I was quite excited to dip in. As I said, I haven't played a wrestling game for a fair amount of years now. To be honest, like I don't really watch wrestling these days. I was a big fan back in the kind of like Attitude Era, I think, as most people were with wrestling, and that's why I used to like play the games. But I've actually been having loads of fun playing the story missions. I played all the way up until you get to enter the Royal Rumble. Have you got that far?
No. So story-wise, I haven't been playing an awful lot. I've only done the first 2 story missions. I've basically just been in 1v1 matches against the computer and just been playing as the Viper himself, Randy Orton, just going in there for those RKOs.
Ah, okay. So you've not been playing like Bolo Reynolds, who is the story character to start off with. Because the story's split up. I think there's 5 or 6 different chapters in it. And each one you kind of take on an unknown wrestler to play out. And you get to play against all the kind of wrestlers you know. But yeah, same as you, my favourite wrestler, Ric Flair, wasn't initially available within the game. You have to play through the story to be able to unlock him. And I have actually now gotten to the point where I've accrued enough gold, or whatever the coin is in the game, to unlock Ric Flair. So if you guys ever want to jump back in that game, I've got my boy ready.
I played it a little bit, not much at all. When I was over my girlfriend's house, I actually played it on her console, her PS5, and I tested it out a little bit. Jesus, mate. Me and you played 2K19 together over yours because we thought it'd be fun, and it was really fun. We even tried share playing it at one time. That was horrific. We found out that wrestling games actually have a little bit of tech inside them, and they're actually quite hard to master. And then we played Battlegrounds, and it's just simplified, dumbed down, chibi wrestlers. And it was fun, but not for long. Not for long at all. And my man, what was his name? Who was the wrestler I played in 2K19?
Oh, you played that big bugger, didn't you? What's his name?
Big geezer.
He's this. What's his name? He was busted. He was absolutely busted. See if you can find him. He's bald and he's got a beard. And that's like half the wrestlers. He's not Big Show, but he's big guy.
Do you mean Braun Strowman or Braun?
That's
I'm probably saying the name totally wrong. It's Braun something.
Braun Strowman.
Is he in that game? Is he in Battlegrounds?
I think he is, but similar to the others, you have to unlock him.
Yeah, everyone you want to play, you have to unlock. There isn't many characters when you first jump into the game, so it kind of encourages you to play the story. But you guys are right, it's just dumb fun, right? I wouldn't have paid for this game. I'm only playing it because it came as part of the PS Plus offering this month. But something in it, there's a spark there that I am kind of interested to play WWE 2K22 if that comes out next year.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We haven't seen anything for it yet. And I mean, if it's got Goldberg in it, it's probably got my money. I'm not going to lie. I'm at the point now where I've got such a fanboy tendency for Goldberg that if I can just watch his intro every single time. Dun, dun,
Well, that was it. Half the fun is listening to the entrance music, going through all the characters and just going, I remember this guy, I remember this entrance music.
It's so nostalgic, isn't it?
And I think that's why I've been enjoying it, really.
Quick news. So we've now moved into quick news after that amazing jingle. So the first bit, NetherRealm have announced on Twitter they have ended support for Mortal Kombat 11 and have moved on to a new game. So expect Injustice 3 or that rumoured Marvel game. Who knows, lads? We'll have to wait and see.
PS5, comfortably the market leader in the UK, with sales up 25% on 2020.
For the lovers of physical goods, Merge Games Limited are going to release a physical anniversary edition package including Streets of Rage 4 and Mr. X Nightmare on disc, currently planned to ship September 24th on Shopto and other retailers.
PS Now games for July, Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's available till November 1st, Neo 2, Moving Out, God of War has finally reached the service, Judgment, which is available till October 4th, Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, and finally NASCAR Heat 5 for all you American race fans.
RE-Verse has been delayed till 2022. The previously announced July 2021 launch of RE-Verse is being moved to 2022 so the team can continue working on delivering a smooth gameplay experience.
Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl announced and revealed with a gameplay trailer showing characters such as Nigel Thornberry, SpongeBob, Sandy Cheeks, and Powdered Toast Man. This game has rollback and wave dashing. Smash is dead.
It's come as no surprise to anybody, but Sony will not be at Gamescom, or that's how it's looking at the moment. The list of the different publishers that are featured at this event has gone up, and Sony, to no one's surprise, is not there. So it begs the question, when are we going to see the next big event? So watch this space, and as soon as we hear, you will hear. Remember, if you want to take part in the show, then you can submit your questions to the email pswetrust@gmail.com.
You can join us on the Reddit. The URL will be in the description.
And of course, you can reach out to us on Twitter @InPSWeTrust or also feel free to reach out to us on our individual Twitters in the description below. And also, please feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
I do have to let you guys know, and this is true for listeners too, we are on a new social platform. We've been added onto Match.com.
What?
What is that?
So it's a
The
dating
dating
site.
platform.
Yeah, I thought so. How do you mean?
Well, obviously I run the email. So you get the usual stuff, like people coming after Spence for saying that, cancer wasn't researched and things like that. But then I just saw this email and it said, welcome to Match. And I thought, what the hell? And then it said, it'll personalize your profile and all this. Now, I can't get into the profile because I don't know what the password is. Now, I could retrieve it, but I quite like the mystery of not knowing. But it turns out that every single day now I'm getting recommendations for different men. So it turns out now that our podcast, we are known on Match.com as Ernestina.
That's not a name.
Apparently it is. Here we go. Hi, Ernestino Claudia. 38, apparently we are. So we're a woman and we're interested in men. I tell you what, we are getting a lot of matches. So I don't know what our picture looks like, and I kind of don't want to know. But whoever did this, honestly, I tip my hat to you because I've had so much fun laughing at this. I loved it. So whoever took our email and signed up for Match.com, you're an absolute gem. I love this.
I almost hope the profile photo is on the same level as my Photoshop that goes on Twitter. It's funny that someone's been swiping right and using our email. I wonder if they're promoting the show. Maybe that's a topic that comes up.
To be fair, we've been growing a lot in India lately. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is the reason. Maybe it's the Match.com crowd. Maybe they're coming through.
That's why you're getting a lot of men liking it. Because our audience is primarily men.
It is. We got a small female subsection, but now we're going to be growing that male ratio even more. They'll be clicking on it and thinking, oh, that Ernestio Claudia sounds very, very male. But I'm all about it. Stunner on those profile pics.
If she's listening, there is a seat open on the show because I always need someone to agree with me. So bring her on.
Well, I think she's made up, Phil. I think this whole
what?
I think this whole Match.com profile's fake.
So
I don't think it's real.
You're telling me all my fans are made up.
It might be. They might be, mate. Yeah, they might be. But yeah, so
That's
listeners,
funny.
apparently you can reach out to us on Match.com as well now. So we'll add that there.
Come into Tinder very soon. Rumour has it.
Rumour has it.
Rumour has it.
Rumour has it that... Let me stop there. For this next section, the Resident Evil button has been disabled. Because yes, we're going to be talking about Resident Evil Outrage. This is the latest rumour to hit the rumour mill. We've heard that Rebecca Chambers is getting her own game. And she's not been featured since the original Resident Evil 0. She's going to be starring alongside Leon Kennedy. And we haven't seen those two together since the CGI film Resident Evil Vendetta, which is considered semi-canon to the video game franchise. So there's going to be no zombies this time. It's going to be an uncontrollable rage fueling your enemies, similar to the Mangini from Resident Evil 5 or 28 Days Later. I'm personally always hyped for Resident Evil news, but I'd rather if the next Resident Evil focus more on the Ethan Winters storyline, more with the Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 8 vibe. Unless, of course, this is going to be like Revelations, where it's not in the main line of the game. How do you guys feel about that?
You know what? I think I agree. I'd very much like it to kind of finish off the Winters storyline, just because Resident Evil so far has been kind of done in trilogies. So it would make so much sense. We've had the 3 best games, then the 3 action games, and then the Winters games. So it makes sense. It makes sense. But for it to be Rebecca Chambers, we haven't seen her since, 0? It's weird. We haven't seen, sure, she was in a basketball outfit in RE1. RE2 even, RE2.
Yeah, I was going to say, she has sort of featured throughout the games in storylines and plot lines, but not as a major character since Resident Evil 0.
Yes, it's strange.
Now, I think what you touched on there, Phil, earlier when you said about Revelations, that's what this game is in my mind. It's not a mainline entry, and it can't possibly be a mainline entry because it's too close to the release of Village. So it can't be. but it's a spin-off game. And this rumor originally, the reason why this has got so much fire and why there's so much for this is because it was in the Capcom leak. So the Capcom leak, which happened, I think it was a year ago, and we didn't really report on it too much on this podcast because of how near and dear Capcom is to us all. And we don't want to spoil stuff, but the rumors are just getting crazy out of hand now. And so I expect this, if it's real, to be shown pretty imminently. And I'm really surprised that Capcom didn't have this actually at E3. I didn't want to put it as one of my predictions because ultimately I don't really want to spread too much of these spoilers, but this one's gotten to such an extent now. It's like the Resident Evil 4 remake. Everyone knows it's happening. I think putting this mix of having Leon and Rebecca together would be really interesting. I don't class the movies or any of that animated stuff as canon in any way, right? You know how I feel about it, guys. But I think it'd be interesting to see those two in a game. And the only thing I'm getting a bit fed up of is Leon. He's literally everywhere. Like, what happened to Jill? She was like the poster girl for Resident Evil. And then as soon as 4 comes out, it's Leon. Leon's in everything. Leon's here. Leon's there.
Well, he's only just come off starring in Infinite Darkness as well.
Oh, that was dog shit.
That's funny.
That was so bad.
Yeah, the thing for me, I just want this game to be scary, I think. I don't want it to follow the 4, 5, 6 Infinite Darkness kind of combat, action. I want it to be more along the lines of, the original trilogy, as Spencer put it, or remake.
Revelations is a great template for them to use. If they used the Revelations style, it would work really, really well for this. But we'll have to see. Now, do I believe this to be true? Yeah, 100% I do. I think this is going to happen. I think it's a really smart idea for Capcom to just continue revisiting the franchise and having different team-ups. I got Barry last time in Revelations 2, so I can't hope for him again. So seeing Rebecca Chambers would be really nice, and I'd really welcome this. What do you think about this, Spence? Do you reckon there's any light at the end of the tunnel for this, or do you reckon it's just a rumor, bin it off? And what is your kind of interest level in this?
Sure. I mean, if anyone thinks it's just a rumor, that's insane. It got leaked. It's definitely not a rumor. For Leon being in the game, I think that's fine, to be fair, because he's only been in 2, 4, and 6. So he's in every 2 games, except he wasn't in 8. Spoilers. But he's not in Village. And Rebecca Chambers, we haven't seen her in such a long time, it makes sense for them to use her. But I do understand what you mean with Jill Valentine. Where is she? Like, she's paying. Get her in the games.
Do you feel like they're saving Jill Valentine for after they finish the Ethan Winters trilogy? Because then you could get like a Jill Valentine trilogy after that. I feel like Rebecca Chambers, she is, on the scale of things, probably a minor character when it comes... Well, not a minor character, but she's not one of the big 4 or 5, is she? That's in Resident Evil. So I think her level probably suits a Revelation-style game as opposed to someone like Jill Valentine.
Yeah, I agree with that. My only issue is that if they're saving Jill for after the Winters trilogy, either how old is she or when's it set? Because if it's set
we could do
following
prequels.
Those games, I mean, yeah, I feel like it would have to be prequels. Either that or she's struggling to walk, It'd be long.
Wheelchair Jill is just the next meta. I mean, you don't have to worry about your inventory space when you've got all those little bags that you can hang off the side of a wheelchair, She'd be busted. She'd be absolutely busted rolling around, doing some sick wheelies with L1. It'd be like Resident Evil 6, but in a wheelchair. Be great.
Ex-Tony Hawk kind of game. You could do some couple of grinds.
Why not? I'd just be grateful to see Jill again. So we're all in agreement on this then. We reckon it's happening. When do you reckon we're going to see it, lads? Do you reckon it's going to be shown by the end of the year like the rumour reckons?
I reckon we'll see it before the end of the year. I don't think we'll get it until mid to late next year or beyond.
I've got one theory, right? And now this is off the wall, okay? So I always say put your tinfoil hat on. This is definitely one of those moments, okay? I reckon there's a PlayStation experience which is going to happen towards the end of the year. I reckon it's going to be shown there. I reckon it's going to come out with RE-verse, which is now being delayed. I think it's all going to hit around the same time, which I reckon for a January, February release. That's my bet. That makes perfect sense to me. They delayed RE-verse into 2022, which makes no sense whatsoever. That game, if you release it a year after Village, it's going to be dead on arrival. No one's going to give an absolute shit. But if you bundle it with the next game, you got a load more interest. It makes perfect sense.
I know you guys will probably laugh at this, but what are the possibilities Resident Evil Outrage is DLC for Village?
0.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole new game.
0. Yeah, no chance. No chance.
Obviously, the characters don't really suit the setting, and that's why I thought it was a bit crazy, but we just got to put these things out there just in case they hit.
I mean, the thing is, it's wild, but also not really, because you played through 7, you never thought you'd see Chris. So playing through 8, you wouldn't expect to see Leon and Rebecca, but you might.
And it possibly might only be the inclusion of Rebecca Chambers as opposed to Rebecca and Leon. The rumour might be twisted. You know how these things get on Twitter? They get mixed up, don't they? It might not actually be both of them. It might just be Rebecca Chambers, and it might possibly... She could feature somewhere along the Ethan Winters storyline, couldn't she?
Imagine Billy comes back from Resident Evil 0. Can you imagine that? Everyone will go mental for that. Everyone's been asking where that character has been since 0.
And Capcom are the developers that listen to the audience, so why wouldn't they bring him back? If they know there's, passion behind those tweets, those emails, those Facebook messages, why not bring him back?
It's true. You made a very good point about it could just be solo Rebecca, because as the article states to be read, the source, the guy who leaked it, he found out that Leon was in the game through a source that isn't his usual source. So he's not sure if it's 100%. So that's actually such a good thing to say. I wouldn't mind just having a Rebecca Chambers game, but it negates the whole Resident Evil thing of having the 2 separate stories. So I think I would like it to be Leon. I'd like to have the Leon story, or the B story, we'll call it. It'd be nice if it wasn't Leon. It'd be nice if it was someone else.
Does Rebecca always need someone to help her, though?
I think so.
It would be really interesting to see her character grow since Resident Evil 0 and 1, and to see her not be so dependent on a man to take care of her through the games, which is what happens in Resident Evil. In Resident Evil Remake, it makes... I mean, as much as I love that game, it's one of my favourite games of all time, it makes no sense, right? She's just survived through Resident Evil 0. She's probably the most experienced STARS member there by an absolute country mile. She encounters a hunter, and she pretty much pisses her pants in the corner. Help me, Chris! It's like, come on, you killed 50 of these just an hour ago. It's just madness. It's just madness. But it's a good way to really show how that character has grown since those earlier games. And I think they could really do wonders with it.
What I'd like to see, as we've said, it might not be Leon. Sherry? Jake? Any RE6 characters? What's his name? The geezer who turned into a freaking lizard? What was his name? Chris's little husband?
Piers.
There he is.
Doc Connor.
Bring him back. I want to see him. I want to see him now he's, messed up.
Right, this is getting out of hand. Let's move on to the next thing.
This is why we have the button. The button's there for a reason, right?
It's so true. Rumour has it. PlayStation have been teaming up. Netflix? Netflix? That's so strange. Apparently, there's a partnership going on between Netflix and PlayStation. Because Netflix want to kind of join the video gaming sphere, they've teamed up with PlayStation, and it's leaked that Ghost of Tsushima is going to be playable on, I think they call it Shark, and Netflix is going to become a streaming service for games. What's going on?
I mean, we've known for a while that Netflix is wanting to enter the gaming space, right? So they hired a couple of key people from the video game industry. I think it was late last year, early this year, actually. I tell you why I don't think this is going to happen, right? As interesting as it would be to be able to play your PlayStation game through Netflix, as interesting as that would be, and that'd be a big dick move to have that. I mean, Netflix available fucking everywhere. Sony spent an absolute fortune on Gaikai, only last generation, and incorporated them in to do share play and all that stuff. And it's only gotten better moving to the PlayStation 5. You've got PS Now. Just make PS Now a better service than it is now. That's all you need to do. And it's an easy win.
You say it's an easy win. Do you know how much money Netflix have invested into their architecture and infrastructure? And you're just saying, Sony, yeah, that's an easy win. You could just do that. I don't believe that. It's already in place for Netflix. It seems like a no-brainer for me. I feel very opposite to how you're structuring your argument here.
I just think, right, when you've got PlayStation Now, All they need to do to make it a really compelling service is add the ability to download PlayStation 3 games. And as soon as you've done that, it's done. Done deal. The streaming works well enough if you're on a PlayStation 5 and you've got a strong internet connection. Even on PS4 with a strong internet connection, it's okay. But downloading the games locally is how they should be played. It's the reason why Stadia flopped as hard as it did, because it didn't have the ability to do that. And no matter how good your internet is, you're always going to have some form of latency. I think even Netflix, as superior as they are in terms of their streaming, you're always going to have latency. I just don't think it's the best way to play games.
To me, this whole thing, it makes no sense. Sure, Netflix is a giant. It is the giant in streaming. But PlayStation have their own streaming service, PlayStation Now. And we know that they've tested, I think in Poland, their own video streaming service that they're starting now. So why would they jump to Netflix? I don't entirely understand. If they're trying to do their own video streaming, why would they team up with a different one?
How I feel is that it's all done and Netflix have it all ready to go. In the sense that, as I said, their infrastructure, it's all there and it works and it's proven to work. Not necessarily with video games, but you are downloading movies. And that's seamless across that. And it's available everywhere. It feels like a really interesting partnership in my mind.
So what do you reckon then, Laz? Have you got any faith in this actually being true?
Even if it's not 100% true, I think there's a hint of truth here. It might not necessarily be games that they're streaming, but there might be some sort of partnership in creating content for video games via Netflix. So it might be supporting kind of like videos or kind of like, maybe not reviews, but you could possibly have, you've got the new, I can't say it, Infinite Darkness that came out on Netflix. You know, if Sony maybe went down the Uncharted route with Netflix.
Well, interesting you say that, because Sony Pictures have already done a deal with Netflix so that as soon as the theatrical run ends for like Spider-Man or any of the Sony produced stuff, it goes straight to Netflix. It does show that there's already a good working relationship between the two to be able to have that support, but I can't see them doing this when PlayStation Now is already a thing. Do they really need to compete with Game Pass? I mean, the PlayStation 5's outselling it 2-1. Do you need to compete with it? No, not really. The biggest competition, believe it or not, is actually the Nintendo Switch right now. I mean, Xbox always gets brought into the conversation, but it's being absolutely trounced. 2-1 right now, and you can't even get one. You know? Or people say they can't get one. You know how I feel about that. We don't need to open that can of worms. So no, I don't think this is going to happen at all.
I mean, yeah, I feel the same. I understand there is a partnership. There probably will be a partnership. I know Netflix wants to enter the gaming space, but I can't imagine them doing it successfully. So I think Sony are smart enough not to try and jump into that. I don't know, man. You never know. They could very much be doing it. It's strange. It's very strange. Sony have all the resources they need to do it on their own. So I feel like it'd be a kind of like a thing of faith if they did it. A thing of just, let's have a good relationship rather than we need you. It doesn't make too much sense. If they do it on their own, it'll fail. If they do it with Netflix, it'll fail. Streaming video games has never been good. It won't be good. Unless there's an option in Netflix to download stuff like they do with their movies and shows, and you can download games through Netflix, which is just a weird concept to think about, then I can't see it working. But that's my take.
Do you think Netflix will ever get to the point where they're developing their own games like Amazon are trying to be doing?
I do, actually. I very much think that. I can't imagine them making very good games. But we know that in the past maybe 2 or 3 years, Netflix has kind of been pushing their own stuff so much. There's a whole tab on Netflix about their own funded shows and their own shows they've been making. They've made The Witcher. They've made I don't know what else. They've made loads of stuff. Anime especially, they make so much anime. And they know anime is popular at the minute. They just added My Hero and the My Hero Heroes Rising movie, which, watch it if you can, is sick. They're trying to do their own thing. And Sony, I feel like it's not Netflix helping Sony at this point. It's Sony helping Netflix. And that's kind of what this partnership entails.
So well said. That's exactly what I was just about to say. Yes. That is so well said. It's unbelievable. I think if Netflix are looking at this, that they want to compete with Game Pass, then this is their way to do it, right? They could approach studios, say, we'll get you onto Netflix. We'll have like a different pricing structure so people can have Netflix Ultimate or whatever. And that will include gaming in there. and you get those publishers on board. You get your Ubisofts, you get your EAs, you get all those on board. So you get this whole host of games that are on the back burner. But then I can't imagine Sony saying, yeah, we'll let you feature a couple of games on here if Xbox are going to be on it too. I imagine Sony would do something like they say, we're on here, but not Xbox, which would then strengthen Netflix's want to go against Game Pass, right? And give it a competition, and Sony to be on it as well, to like really just kind of keep Xbox down. But I just don't know how much of a threat they see Xbox as.
It's not much to do with your point. I have 2 points to add to this, and that's the game that's been leaked or shown to be rumored to be on Netflix is Shark or Fin or whatever it is. It's called Shark. It's Ghost of Tsushima, which is strange because they're literally doing director's cut next month. It's so soon. And then Stadia, Google Stadia has just failed, and now is a gaming streaming service. It's weird to jump into this kind of space now. It doesn't really work out.
But it's an open space now because you've got less competitors. Google have just got knocked out of this space. I think certain games lend themselves to streaming. So single-player narrative games lend themselves to streaming because who cares about latency in a single-player narrative game? And what are Sony famous for? Single-player narrative games. I could play Uncharted. It doesn't really matter. It's not like playing COD. I know you guys are screaming, right? But for 99% of people that play video games, it's not going to matter, is it?
I mean, latency, I'm biased. Latency matters to me. I see the frames. When a game goes to 60 FPS instead of 30 FPS, Davey's like, where? I see it. I notice it. Latency really matters to me. But the third-party games we get from Sony, the exclusives, it would hinder my experience. I wouldn't be able to play it. On games such as like Persona or Dragon Quest, RPG games, where the combat is hitting a spell or just hitting attack or defend, that makes a lot of sense. That would work really well because latency is literally no issue. But in a game where, even if it's just a third-party game, you got to move, you got to dodge bullets, you got to shoot people. If there's a hint of latency in a single-player game, that's bad.
Completely agree with you. I think something like you said, like a turn-based RPG, or if you're talking something like Life is Strange, I was talking about earlier, or The Walking Dead, those kind of games, they'd work really, really well because latency doesn't even matter then. Yeah, if you've got any sense of control over your character, latency's a killer. Latency's really, really bad. I mean, it's at the point where if my connection drops on PS Now, I'll just turn it off. I don't even bother to play the PlayStation 3 library on there because the latency, even if I'm playing Resistance 3 and I'm playing the single player, I can't play it. It's just even that slight bit of latency is just enough to make you think there's something off. It just feels weird. It just ruins the flow of it.
Do you feel like your boys' views are the majority, though, when it comes to it? Because PS Now obviously is, running, and it runs these games, and people enjoy them, even with the reduced latency.
I think it is the majority, because otherwise I think Stadia would have worked, and it would have sold, and it didn't. On that same metric, I think if PlayStation Now wants to succeed, and it wants to sell, in big numbers like PlayStation Pluses, for example, then it needs to make everything downloadable. And until it does, I think it's going to be a subpar service. And I think if Netflix don't make these games downloadable, that would be a subpar service too.
So lads, we're on to our first topic.
Stop! Topic time!
Now this topic is a bit controversial. So Xbox tweeted out saying beating the game on the lowest difficulty is still beating the game. And then a games reviewer, Crow, retweeted it saying, I have never played a game for review on anything but the easiest difficulty and I never will. And then, beyond that, quoteception, Sophia Narwitz at Sophnar0747 tweeted out with an image of that saying, I miss the days when game journalists/writers actually tried to be good at their jobs. What do you think of that? Do you think she's spot on? Do you think you disagree? What's your opinions, boys?
Personally, I loved what she responded to after that. And she said, if you can't even master a game's systems to beat it on the normal difficulty, then you shouldn't be reviewing games. And I vibe with that so much. I honestly feel like that is right. That's my stance on it. I feel like, sure, you can complete the game on easy, right? You can complete the game on casual. You can beat it on invulnerability mode. You can do it on all this stuff. But your review needs to state that you've done it in that way, because the gameplay experience between that and completing it on normal is vastly different. Just think about it, right? Your experience, Spence, when you played Resident Evil 1.
Resident Evil.
Oh,
There it is.
Jesus.
There it is. There it is. Go on, lad.
Whoop,
Go on.
there
Go get
it is.
Whoop, there it is. Guess what, boys? You boys are joining me on this, because I got shots to give away. So we're all doing a round, okay?
Sounds good.
The point I was making is, Spence, when you completed Resident Evil, you played it on easy.
Basically, yeah.
My experience playing it on normal was vastly different to yours, because you were killing every single thing left, right, and center. I had to conserve my ammo, which added extra tension into the experience. Now, Phil, you've played Resident Evil 2 on hardcore, same as myself. That's a very, very different experience from playing it on normal. So I think the difficulty that you play the game on, it vastly changes how that game works. But I think normal is that style that the developer intended you to experience that game on first. And if you're reviewing a game, you're responsible for the purchasing decisions of other people. You deserve to have played it in the way that is default for most people. And that is my take on it. I would never play a game on easy and structure a review as if it's for the masses without saying that it is being done on easy because A, I'm either too shit, or B, the game is too hard. And then you can base your review around that criticism about it being too difficult. I've said before, on God of War, when I played that, I had to lower it down too easy to beat the final Valkyrie because she kicked my ass too much. And that's valid criticism. But if I said, oh no, I just caned it first time, never mentioned I did it on easy, I'm just lying to my audience. So I think there's a bit of minutiae in there, but I think she's bang on in what she says. I don't know about what you guys think, but get our shots.
A few moments later.
Well, the button's back active. Phil's necked his can. On your head.
On your head.
Hey!
Hey, the king. Attaboy. That's sick. I love the dregs. The dregs are class.
Yummy. As I said, my opinion's out there now. What do you guys think?
So for me, I think it feels bad to put a review out there without actually trying everything. Okay, play the story on easy. If you need to play it on easy, play it on easy. I'm not taking that away. A lot of people love to play their first run through on easy. But what I'm saying is, try every difficulty, because then you get a fuller picture of the game. I've always struggled with reviews. I'm 36, I've been playing games all my life. And as you boys know, I've got a massive collection of video games, and not just the ones behind me on the shelf. I'm never one to just buy games just because they're overhyped or, you know, a AAA. Otherwise, I'd have Cyberpunk sitting on the shelf right next to me, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Reviews from reviewers never feel 100% genuine. There's always some agenda going on, isn't there? You know, they're paid for their art. And I think that's where I struggle. As soon as money's involved, it's hard for me to trust these people 100%.
So is that why you recommend SSJ reviews for all your best video game content?
Well, you're not getting paid, mate. So yeah, I can recommend that all day long.
Definitely not.
That's class.
Definitely not. Definitely not getting paid. Definitely not.
And we don't get paid for this podcast either. So I would 100% recommend In PS We Trust podcasts.
Yeah, we say what the fuck we want.
Yeah, fuck it.
No, I see what you're saying. Like that kind of trust component. So do you think, like, if they made difficulty like a central part of that review, then that would make it different for you? Because I just think the later you go, right, like into the difficulties, the more you need to understand the game itself. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to beat it on the hardest difficulty. That's for the people that are really, really hardcore, right? You don't have to do that. There's no need to be that elitist. But I don't think normal's ever too challenging on a game.
I like what you said about mentioning the level of difficulty that you play. When you're reviewing a game, if you say you've only completed this on easy, you might be missing out 50% of the game. Because the examples that you've mentioned, we know those games change dramatically based on difficulty.
What games?
I'm not sure. You said it earlier, didn't you?
Dino Crisis, mate.
Yes. By that developer.
Yeah.
But Dino Crisis is exactly the same. Play on a different difficulty. Very, very different experience.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. I'm very much the same kind of boat. I think there's such a broad difference between game reviewer and game tester. A game tester is able to play the game on easy. They can experience everything, all the mechanics, all the situations, the story, all that, and get to fiddle with the game's mechanics. Granted, I think game testers should play on hardest difficulties as well, but they can get away with it better than game reviewers, I think. Because game reviewers, at the very least, in my opinion, should play on normal, because that is clearly the intended experience.
A lot of the time, I'm not a game reviewer, right? We just talk on this podcast because we're having a laugh and we're having a couple of beers. But a lot of the time, from my knowledge of game reviewers, they're given a date, they're given a game, and they need to get it out by that date.
Yeah.
So they're forced into their review, and hence why they choose to, or some people choose to play it on easy, because they can get through the majority of the content to make their views. But I don't feel like that's a genuine representation of the game.
I completely agree. But the reason it irks me as much as it does is it's what they do for a living. They should be able to commit to 8 hours a day to this game. Playing games is a pleasure. I don't earn any money. I do it for fun other than, Smash tournaments because, I'm cracked. But you play games for fun. If they get to play these brand new games before release, I would never. I couldn't dare play it on easy. I'd want the intended experience and I'd want to, indulge myself in that experience.
Okay, controversial view here. If it's your job, would you still enjoy it to the same level? I mean, if I worked in McDonald's, I probably wouldn't enjoy burgers to the same level I do now.
Sometimes you've got to look at yourself in the mirror, right? And think, why do you do this? Why do you go to work? Why do you pursue what you're doing? And if you're a video game reviewer and you love video games, you'd imagine. So why wouldn't you want to experience it in the best possible way?
I think what you're pointing at is you either live to work or you work to live.
True.
There's a reason why traditional media is dying and why things like YouTube and Patreon are growing to such an extent. It's because people will wait to hear someone's views that they actually vibe with. Whether or not you agree with that person is a totally different kettle of fish. But when you understand that person's opinion, you can then gauge where you're going to fit on that spectrum. So say, for example, with games that I've reviewed, for example, right? There's certain people that fall in the same camp as me, and they like the classics. And then there's certain people who like the fourth entry of that. And so, depending on how I take a game, will then determine whether or not that they agree with me or not. And it's a good barometer for judging if it's a good purchasing decision. And so I've had loads of people reach out to me on YouTube, and they've said, oh, because of how you've reviewed this, I went and bought it. Because they know they vibe with my opinion. If there was somebody that I really, really enjoyed reading on IGN, Kotaku, GameSpot, anything like that, and their review was 2 weeks late, I'd wait. And then I'd get their review, and then I'd know this is a good purchasing decision, right? And obviously it's not going to be 2 weeks late. It'd probably be like 2 days late, 3 days late. It won't be like that far out. It would just be just far enough that maybe they don't hit the launch window. And that's not the end of the world, but they don't see that. And so what they're doing is they're sacrificing their craft and their trade to get into the SEO. And it just totally undermines the entire vision of why they do what they do.
Going off what I was saying about reviewers wanting to get their view across before the release date. They get the codes early and they need to get a review out. So my example is Greg Miller. He put out a tweet, a review for Village. He put it out on the 5th of May, where he states, and I'll read verbatim, "The boss fights are forgettable, the story isn't compelling, I liked exploring the creepy environment, but the game itself never rises above fine." Now reading that, and after playing the game, it's clear that he didn't actually play further than the castle, so he might have only played a couple of hours of the game. This game sits on an 84% Metacritic, and for me, that game is way more than fine. But of course I'm 100% biased because I love that series, and I love that game in particular. Personally, I just have no reason to read these reviews from these mini celebrities before the game comes out. I would much rather read a review once the game is out in the public domain.
I think you're exactly right. I think that kind of ties into exactly what I was saying there, in that if you get somebody that you know their opinion on stuff, right? If you get somebody that covers first-person shooters, and they love first-person shooters, and they rave about the new COD, you're going to respond to that much more than you would do if IGN's covering it. You get random fucking dickhead Dom over there, whatever, I don't know who the fuck they are over there these days. You get some random guy who's like, oh, new COD's 9 out of 10. And you're like, is it 9 out of 10 is pretty high? And then you go out there and you listen to a review from like the COD world champion or whatever, and he's like, yeah, this game's actually the best COD in years. Then that is a way more weighted opinion. That opinion is worth a lot more than a video game reviewer, because you know their barometer for it. And I think that's why traditional media is dying, and that's why this whole thing about beating a game on easy and just chucking a review out, bullshit. It means nothing.
It is
vapid.
It is genuinely hard to find a truly objective review, because I don't believe that exists, right? Even with us, as soon as we start talking about a game we love, we are overly passionate about it. We very rarely put down a game that we love, right?
You're totally right. There's no such thing as an objective review, and that's what makes reviews so compelling. So it's about understanding the reviewer themselves so you know their subjective take.
I completely agree. Objective reviews do not exist. Knowing the reviewer is the most important thing. And I think the best thing that could happen to negate this is what currently has been happening. And that's that a lot of games, like recently anyway, don't really have difficulty settings. Which, it doesn't happen with every game. It doesn't happen with the series we love. But a lot of games lately don't have difficulty settings, so you're just forced to play on intended difficulty. And it only gets harder on NG+. So the reviewers will play it the way they have to. And that's what kind of, I feel, needs to be done. I know easy exists, but just easy, man. Playing on easy, unless it's for a platinum, it shouldn't exist, I don't reckon. Just make it an intended difficulty and make that the way to be played until you've beat the game, and then add modes. I think that's the best way to counter this kind of situation.
So do you feel that way with like something like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, where there's often, every time that this argument kind of erupts, right? And this is the biggest I've seen this argument kind of erupt since, and hence why we're covering on this podcast. Always you get Dark Souls or Bloodborne drawn into this, because they say there's no need for an easy difficulty, right? That's how the game's intended to be. So you go on that mindset that it's whatever the game developers intend you to play it on, that's it. You play it on that, done.
Mate, those games are exactly what I was referring to. That is exactly what I intended to say. I don't see why anyone would ever play a game on lower than normal unless it was for a speedrun or something of the sort. But even then, the speedrunning community, all those pro fucking gamers who have never touched grass in their life, they usually play the game on hardcore. They play on hardcore, beat it as fast as they can. They don't even go to easy. So why are reviewers doing it? They're supposed to be who we listen to buy games.
But equally, you can't listen to them because they've only played it on the hardest difficulty. So it needs to be a cross-section of all the difficulties, doesn't it?
Yeah, but those are speedrunners. You don't listen to them. You look at what the game's
I follow speedrunners on
capabilities.
Twitter, and I do listen to their reviews and their viewpoints on games.
Sure, but I feel like speedrunners are the kind of people that look into game's mechanics rather than the game's viability as a game.
Sure.
So you look into what is the game's like potential. You understand? So you see what the game can do rather than what it can give you.
Sure.
I suppose if you use like our Sackboy example from earlier, right? The game, base game itself, 5 out of 10.
Bullshit.
As soon as you incorporate the mechanics into it, if you're looking from a mechanical point of view, you'd rate it on a higher level because it's got that depth to it.
Yeah, just a point before we go too deep on this one. Going on what you said about traditional media and the way they sort of handle their reviews, I guess this is why like podcasts like this are growing in popularity, because it is a more pure view on a game. You know, you come to us and we're not going to give you what IGN are told to say, you know. It's not just going to be the easy version. You're going to get 3 very contrasting viewpoints on a game. You know, I never agree with 100% of what you say, and the same for you guys. We always argue about games.
Exactly, and I suppose also it comes to the point that what we play is what we want to play. So when I'm sitting there, Life is Strange 2 came out over a year ago, came out like 2 years ago, and I'm just playing it now. I'm just talking about it now, because that's what I want to talk about. It's what I want to play. And that means something. You don't have to always be at the cutting edge. If you're a video game news outlet, right, you have to be cutting edge. But your review section, you should base it around personalities like YouTube is, so that then you can gain trust from an audience and you can get repeat listeners for that voice.
Davey, how popular is your YouTube currently? And those games aren't cutting edge. Some of them are, 5, 6, 7 years old?
20, 25.
Oh, there we go.
25.
There we go. The point is proven.
Yeah, the game I'm just playing for review, which will be out by the time this video goes out, is 22 years old. And I've just covered it.
I'd be one.
Exactly. I mean, like, sure, I'm not exactly a big YouTuber by any stretch. There's a thing about just having someone's voice that you can vibe with, and someone who you can base their opinion so you can form your own. And there's something really important for that. It's why with film critics, you look at like Mark Commode, who does film reviews. Most of his film reviews I don't agree with. So therefore, they add value to me, because if he loves something, chances are I probably won't. And that's a good barometer. You don't have to agree with them. And that's what makes it interesting. That's why reviews are great.
Again, the same as this podcast. We're going to have people that agree with Spencer. We're going to have the minority that agree with you, Davey, and then we'll have people that agree with me.
The majority that agree with you, as we've already
established.
Established that, yeah, it's a fact.
I'll say it's a good point, because before this whole podcast, before me even doing this with you boys, I never played any of the games we can't mention, any of them other than 5 and 6, right? So my expectations weren't high, And then I played the original trilogy, fucking blew my mind. So I would be honest. I'd be entirely honest, because that's years after they've been made. I have no bias whatsoever, other than I know you boys like them, but I don't know. I never knew that, Phil, your favorite was 2, and that became my favorite before I even knew that. Oh, shut up! You gestured 5 to me then. Shut your mouth.
Take a shot for that, Phil. Take a shot for that opinion.
I will need to go and get another beer.
That's fine. You carry on.
That's funny. I'll carry on. But yeah, if it wasn't for this podcast, I never would have played that series. Or I probably would have eventually, but not as soon as I did, especially not prior to Village. So I'm grateful for that, and it gave me my own perspective of these games, rather than playing Village based off of the experience of other people playing the prior games. So I had my own perspective going into that game. So it gave me a deeper understanding into what I was getting into, which I appreciate so much. And I know reviewers nowadays, especially considering this Twitter thread, aren't the same. I couldn't listen to them and then play Village, because it'd be them playing on not the same game mode that I would intend to play on. And unless I intended to play it on easy, sure, I'd get what they tell me I'd get. But I don't. Why would I? That's not the intended experience.
The EA Play event, which is due on the 22nd of July, won't be showing any new Star Wars games. They quote, "We won't be showing any new Star Wars games at the EA Play Live on July 22nd, but all of us are looking forward to celebrating with you next year. We share our vision of the galaxy far, far away. So what do you guys think will be presented at this, as they missed E3?
I think a few things. I think it's insane, the fact that they're not mentioning Star Wars, seeing as we already know that they are mentioning Dragon Age or Mass Effect as well. So that's 3 big titles from EA. And the fact they skipped out on E3 to have their own conference and they're not mentioning any of their big 3 titles, that's crazy. So the one thing I'm hoping for, well, there's 2 things. 2 things I'm hoping for. And that's the Dead Space remake. Ooh. And Skate 4.
Nice. Good choices.
That's what I want.
You're reading my mind here, Spence. You are literally reading my mind. Because, yeah, I was thinking down exactly the same lines as you. But the thing is, I've got more... Now, this sounds mental, right? I promise you, listener, I'm not that drunk, okay? But I've got more faith in EA than I do in Gearbox or any of these other bullshit E3 presentations. We know we're going to obviously get FIFA. We know we're going to get Madden. But it's the stuff after that. And have they already come out then, Spence, and said that they're not showing Dragon Age and they're not showing Mass Effect? Because I missed that.
There was a list of confirmed no-show games, which included Dragon Age and Mass Effect. It was Dragon Age 4 and the new Mass Effect game. So they might show the trilogy or a different Dragon Age game, but it's not going to be Dragon Age 4. It's not going to be a new sequel to Mass Effect. And then Star Wars was just added to that list.
Well, they've had a lot of success recently with that bullshit dodgeball game, haven't they?
Oh my God. Knockout something.
Knockout City.
Knockout City. Jesus.
People are going mad for that game. I mean, I know it's not for me. It's not for me in the slightest. But people are going mental for it.
Do you know what's crazy about that game?
What?
It looks free to play and it isn't.
Is it not?
It's not
I
free
thought
to
it
play.
was.
No, it's not free to play.
You're blowing my mind. But yeah, I honestly think they're going to show more of that. They're going to show maybe some DLC for that. They'll show the new Apex champion. They'll show that. That game's going from strength to strength. Maybe. I reckon this time they show Titanfall 1 and they bring it back and they do a remaster for it.
You reckon?
Yeah, Titanfall's been having a lot of problems recently with its community where they're being hacked. Left, right, and centre, there's people coming in with hacks and it's ruining the game. No one plays it now. You can't play it because there's all hacks everywhere and no one's fixing it. And so EA said, yeah, we're going to fix it. And it's come out, they've put 2 developers on it. 2 developers on it to fix it. So fucking good luck with that. So I reckon it's about time that they're thinking, well, people want to play this game. We could milk them for this. Put it out 4K 60. Done.
Oh my God, I'd play the living fuck out of that.
And me.
Titanfall's class. Titanfall,
Yeah, it's great.
it didn't do anywhere near as well as it should have. It was such a fantastic game. Fuck.
I think it's just an easy thing you can do. Just remaster, bundle Titanfall 1 and 2, put them into 4K. They're already at 60. Done. Put it as a collection. Easy.
You don't think
Easy
it'd
money.
be Titanfall 3?
No. So with Respawn, they're already hard at work on the next Jedi Fallen Order. So I can't see them doing Titanfall as well. Unless their studio's really scaled up, I can't see them doing Apex, Jedi Fallen Order, and Titanfall 3. I can't see that happening at all. I reckon more Titanfall to bring back the original, see how it sells. Obviously, Titanfall 2 sold abysmally because EA absolutely murdered it because they put it out at the same time they put Battlefield out. It's like, are you mental? They literally crucified their own game. So if you can see what the audience size is like, then maybe it will give them the ability to then go in and make Titanfall 3. And I can see that alongside Skating and Dead Space. And I'd be quite happy with that.
There must be something coming, right? Because if they didn't have games, they would have just gone to E3. Like a lot of the developers where there was just nothing in their presentations. If they're going to do a standalone event, there must be some reason for this. And if it's the games you mentioned, I'm all in. I love those games.
You know what we're like on this podcast. We love to make a prediction. I want one prediction that you think is going to happen, and the person that doesn't get a prediction right takes a shot. But you cannot mention FIFA, you cannot mention Madden, or any of their sports games.
Yo, easy, boys. Absolutely easy. Yo, Dead Space remake. Give it to me. That's my prediction immediately.
Okay. You've gone first.
Yeah,
apparently.
That's why I went first, and I'm gonna take it. Mate, I made sure it's mine.
Oh, okay. Well, I've put this little game out there. So Phil, you can go next.
Okay. So my pick, lads, would be Command and Conquer. I know they did the mobile game for Res Alert, but I've been waiting for them to bring this series back. I absolutely love Command and Conquer. It's up on my shelf. I've got the original CDs and DVDs of this game. I would love to see it coming back.
I think it'd be a really smart move from EA. This is just a good way to get goodwill without spending an absolute fortune. It's just a strategy game at the end of the day.
Can I say, is from BioWare, all I want to see is Anthem 2.
You want to see Anthem 2? They haven't finished Anthem 1, Spence.
Well, moving away from that, my prediction is going to be Skate. Easy prediction to get. And if they don't show it, then I'm actually really worried. Because this game was announced a couple of years back and we haven't seen diddly shit of it. But we'll wait and see. Listeners, write in with your predictions. You've only got one day to get them in before it actually goes live. But we'll read them out and we'll see who got lucky. And I can see when you send the email. Don't even try and cheat me. The final topic that we'll be discussing tonight is the Sony State of Play. Now, this took place on the 8th of July 2021, which is 1 week from recording. This is what was shown. You had Moss 2 for PSVR, Arcadegeddon, Tribes of Midgard, Fist, Hunter's Arena Legends, Sifu, Jet the Far Shore, Demon Slayer, Lost Judgment, Death Stranding Director's Cut, and Deathloop. Now, in terms of the presentation itself, I really enjoyed this presentation. I thought it was great. Now, I'd rate it a solid 7 out of 10. Boys, what are your thoughts on this?
I think I'd rate it a lot higher than a 7 out of 10. There was tons of content and games I'm actually interested in. Some of these I cannot wait for, but I'm sure we'll break this down in a second. How about you, Spence?
I was going to say it'd be a 3 out of 10 if they didn't show Death Stranding, wouldn't it, mate?
Don't be silly.
No,
there is a good couple of games in there I'm excited for.
There is a good couple of games. I think I'd rate it a set. I don't want to be like the 7.5 Andy, you know. But it probably is about that. I wouldn't rate it too highly because they don't exactly have the entertainment value that like Devolver give us. It's kind of just cut to the point, give you the games, which I appreciate. I do appreciate. So I think it is roughly a 7 out of 10 for me as well.
Spencer, as you know, you're contractually obligated to agree with me on everything. So I'm glad to see you're on point here. Well, lads, what I want to know really is which games spoke to you across this conference? And don't worry, you don't have to just name one. Name any that really stood out to you. What were you really blown away by?
All right, I'll step up first. I think Tribes of Midgard is interesting. I think Sifu, Deathloop, and of course Death Stranding for me. These are the 4 that stood out for me.
So Phil, why are those your choices? Like, what out of those games interested you so much?
So for me, Tribes of Midgard, it really looks like an interesting kind of dungeon crawler along the same sort of lines as Diablo, and I love those games. I love the kind of Norse mythology that goes along with this game, and I'd be interested to play this game with you guys. I could see us going multiplayer on this one.
100%.
I gotta say, I could leave this game. I saw this literally like 5 times across E3. It was one of the most shown games across E3, I swear to God. Up there with like Far Cry. Every time I saw it, I just thought it looks like a rip-off of Diablo with God of War, because it's all the rage at the moment. Because everything's Vikings. This doesn't appeal to me. I can just wait till Diablo 2, which is only in a couple of months.
My issue there, Tribes of Midgard, sure it's a dungeon crawler. It seems like it could be a rip-off, but there's so many dungeon crawlers. I think the only kind of similarity it has to Diablo is that it's a dungeon crawler. So it does seem very different. It is Norse, similar to God of War, but obviously not in the same sense, because those games, if you compare the Diablo to God of War, they're so different. Leagues apart. The only similarity now is that it's Norse storyline. So it's going to be a different game. It's going to be a different experience, and I'm sure it will be fun. And unless it's full priced, I'll probably pick it up just because it'll be fun to tide me over until Diablo 2.
Yeah, I think that's the kicker, isn't it? Depending on what price it comes out at. If this is a 50, 60, maybe not so much. But if it's a reduced price game, I think I'm in.
One game on your list that I'm really hyped by actually is Sifu. That combat and the aging that comes with you losing just grabs me. I think it just looks really impactful. I honestly don't know how the hell it's going to play, which is something we said on this podcast a few times before. But in terms of its actual visuals and the way it looks and the impact that you have with each hit, count me in on that, Phil. I'm definitely there with you.
It looks like nothing else. I can't think of a similar game at all in the way it looks and it feels. I like the if you die, you age. But what does that mean in the game? We don't know just yet, do we?
No, and that's what kind of gets me interested in it. It's like they took the raid and said, we love the raid. Let's make it a video game. And I'm down for that. I love the raid. This is great.
Yeah, the aging mechanic to me as well just seems insane. It's like, how often can I die in this game? Is there an age limit? When you reach 106, do you die? Like, I don't understand if it's a limited amount of lives or a limited amount of age. If it slows your frame data, if it makes your attacks weaker. I don't know what's going on, but it seems to me like the first, because of the amount of moves they've shown off in this game, which is incomprehensible. The amount of moves they've shown is insane. It seems like the first third person game that's going to have quarter circles. What the fuck is that? I don't understand.
So you think you get weaker with age? See, I was under the opinion that you got stronger with age and more experienced, and you'd probably open up more moves.
It makes sense until you hit like the 60s, 60s, 70s, in which case your bones are brittle and you're struggling to walk. In which case, I don't know how you're flipping over people.
At that point, you pull in Wheelchair Jill. And she just comes out of nowhere. It's a crossover, boys. She's in there. And she's got a full bag full of grenade launchers. And it's game on. Now, I think the combat's very different to you, Spence. I reckon it's going to be more like the Batman games. I think it's going to be more about like kind of single button presses. And it's context sensitive. And that's how I think it's going to move. And if that's the case and they've molded it on Arkham, it's going to be amazing. That combat system is incredible. One of the best combat systems in gaming, to be honest. And that's one button, but it's just so fluid. I could really see it like that. So the games for myself that really stood out to me is actually Arcadegeddon. Looked really, really hype. Now, I don't know what it is about this that really spoke to me, but it just looks like a fun multiplayer experience. Now, I know this is up for early access now. You can just buy it and play it right now on PlayStation 5. And it's only $15.99 if I remember rightly. But I don't want to. I don't want to buy into early access. I've never really supported early access. It's more of a PC thing than a console thing. And I don't want to pay to get a beta or an alpha version of the game. I'd rather just wait until the full release. But that really grabbed my attention. Apart from that, Deathloop. So Deathloop, obviously I've said on this podcast many, many times before, I am so hyped for this game. I love Arcane. I love Dishonored. And everything I see about it just further instills in me that this is just Dishonored, but with a more comical lens on it. And I'm so into that, you have no idea. This gameplay looks amazing. I just know that I'm never playing in online mode. Because I do not want another player coming in and griefing me. I get enough of that on Demon's Souls. I don't need that here.
That's literally the relation I was going to make. I was going to say that one boss on Demon's Souls where you're fighting an opponent, just controlling a character that's buffed. That is literally the correlation I was going to make. So I understand. Deathloop, it made me a lot more excited for the game as well, because unlike you, I wasn't very keen for it at the start. But then after seeing a trailer maybe not too long ago, I remember thinking this game looks good. I do want it. I'm still nowhere near as keen as you. I'm not as big a fan of Arcane as you are. I didn't like Dishonored 2. I really liked Dishonored 1. But Dishonored 2 just kind of bored me. I'm hoping Deathloop can kind of give me the joy I felt playing Dishonored 1. And I feel like it can.
Deathloop was one of the games that stood out for me, definitely. I really enjoyed their entry into the state of play. I was just along for the ride. I was laughing. It just seemed like a really interesting take on how gameplay could possibly be. When he's jumping across and taking different viewpoints throughout the map and walking around areas where he's hearing a bit of dialogue, and then based on that dialogue, he's then changing his like approach on that sort of section of the game. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose roguelikes are big at the moment. Obviously, we just come off Returnal, which we all really enjoyed on this podcast. And this is another one. But seeing how they're doing it and having, like, when you rerun through that level, learning where everything is and picking up more things from different approaches to really kind of perfect your gameplay. And sure, your abilities are carrying over and you're getting more powerful and stuff like that. So all conventions of the genre, but your own experience really coming into play. And that's also the reason why I don't want to play online. Because imagine coming to this game late, right? You come to this 2 months down the line and someone knows exactly where that target is at what time. And they just wait. They wait for you to get there as the opposing player, and they just nail you right before you kill that boss. It's going to happen. I do not want to interact with a goddamn person unless it's you two. Because you two I could kill. I got no problem with that, right? My skills are cracked, right? We've already said I'm the GOAT. You type in GOAT, it comes up with me. I mean, don't check it yourself, listener, okay? Don't check it. You don't need to. Just take my word on that. But yeah, general public, No way. You ain't playing with me.
So, lads, the one game that kind of stood out to me was Moss 2. And the reason for that, it was the only VR game they showed, which I found quite strange because obviously we've heard rumours all this time about PSVR 2. And instead they were like, oh, nah, let's just do Moss again. So here's Moss 2. It's not on PSVR 2 though, it's just on PSVR. But that's just the way it is. So they showed that off, and I know it's a great game. I haven't played it yet. It's even on Oculus as well, so I have the chance to play it on my Oculus Quest, but I haven't yet, and I really need to. So this game being announced, when it's like out, when I can play it, maybe I'll take the opportunity to play Moss 1, and in the hopes of a PSVR 2 being announced, to push me into that kind of ecosystem. But for now, it's a good looking game. And I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's good.
Well, I think we're all kind of on the same fence with PSVR, aren't we? We're all waiting for more news on the PSVR 2. And I think all of us, from whenever we discuss PSVR on this podcast, we go pretty positive on it. We all really like VR, but we've never really got into it apart from yourself, Spence. And PSVR 2 seems to be the thing that could potentially swing the balance. And Moss could be that game then. Could be one of those games that you think, yeah, do you know what? This and like Astros are the two games to get on and play day one, you know, to really enjoy. Because Moss had such a huge critical reception and the public love it. You know, there's not smoke without fire. Before we move into what our favourite game shown was, I want to ask you guys, there was a game that was shown called Hunters Arena Legends, which is free on PS Plus in August. What did you guys think of this?
Hunters Arena Legends. It looks nice. I'm sure it plays fine. I'm a bit sick of BRs, Battle Royales. I'm a little bit sick of them. I've seen gameplay of this from long ago, from ages ago on PC, where people were playing the alpha or the beta or whatever it was. And it looked cool. I know some guy had like no equipment and some guy jumped him who had been playing this whole time and he just beat him. Because it didn't matter how much equipment he had, he was a better player. And that's nice. But it's not for me. I don't know, just looking at it, it looks like a Chinese made game, which I'm sure it is. And those games usually don't control too well. They look stylish, sure, but that's about it. So it's probably not for me.
To be honest, Dave, this one passed me by. Not really a fan of Battle Royale games, to be honest. So I don't think this one would appeal to me. This was probably the bottom of the list for me.
Wow, I'm the outlier on this. I was actually really excited by this game, and I thought, when I was watching it, I thought, this is one of those games that I need a demo for. I need like an open beta, I need something to try it before I buy it, and then to learn that it's free on PlayStation Plus next month. I was actually really hyped by that. I'm definitely going to be checking this out. I'll let you guys know. You know, if it's decent, you goddamn right I'm going to be talking about it. And I'd love to play with you guys. We should try it out. It's free next month. We should all just jump in, give it a go, kick some ass. Let's beat some people up. Let's beat some scrubs up for playing that game. Let's do it in the honour of the podcast.
I'll definitely try it out. It's one of the few games where I hope it doesn't have crossplay.
What, you don't want the PC crowd involved?
Yeah, exactly that.
We know what the PC crowd are like. As you said before, they've never touched grass. Their immune system is weak. We can literally just go in there and we can beat them up. And if we can't beat them up in game, we'll go around and beat them up in real life. It's fine.
If this game is more kind of fighting and kind of combo focused, do you really feel like the PC crowd are going to be the ones to sort of excel with this type of game?
All I think is that this game's already been out on PC for a while. So they have the edge. And also, like the clips I've seen, the fighting community, as much as it is probably largest on PlayStation, it does exist on PC. I'm playing Guilty Gear Strive on PC. I'm not struggling to find matches.
Tekken's the biggest on PC, isn't it?
God knows, Tekken's dead. But I can't imagine this game working well. Just because, as much as you need to attack, I don't think you can attack in a radius that you aren't facing, if you know what I mean. And it's a lot easier to turn and look at your opponent. Because I imagine it's like a samurai combat game. So I imagine it's going to be a lot of like dashing, slashes, and all that such. And it's a lot easier to turn on the mouse than it is on an analog. You can quickly flick your mouse. Whereas on your analog, you have to slowly turn to find your opponent. If you slash through someone, you have to slowly turn. They flick and they're already on your arse. And then you have to turn all the way again behind you, and they're on your arse again. What are you supposed to do?
There's only one thing to do. Get good.
Get good.
Get good.
Yeah.
Get good. I'm not going to lose. I'm goated. Search me up.
All right.
Don't search me up.
You search GOAT and you get Davey and you get Kobe Bryant as your result.
Exactly. That's all you get. That's all you get. And Kobe's lucky he's there.
That's insane.
Oh, dear God.
So, Davey, out of all the games that were shown at the State of Play, what was your favourite?
Do you know, the game that was my favourite was a real surprise to me, because I never, if someone said to me, you're going to play as a rabbit and you're going to be in a 2D side-scroller Metroidvania-esque game, I'd be like, you mental? Are you on crack? We got Death Stranding, we got Deathloop, we got all these. But no, it's totally right. My favourite game was Fist. I thought Fist looked exceptional. I cannot wait to chuck a rabbit in a mech suit and fuck some shit up. I literally cannot wait. I'm so hyped by it. It's actually one of the games, this is what's weird, one of the games I'm actually looking forward to the most this year. I actually was so blown away by this trailer that I am going to pre-order this on PlayStation Store day one. Day
Big.
one. I cannot wait. I'm so hyped by it. Were you guys not interested by this game?
It wasn't one of the ones that stood out to me, but I can see the appeal of the game, and I'd very much like to hear your views after you play a little bit of the game.
Fist, for me, it looks sick. Not gonna lie to you. The combat system looked awesome. Side-scrolling games don't really happen too much anymore, other than Abe's Odyssey and that we've got. We got Oddworld Soulstorm recently, but I've neglected that since it came out. But Fist looks sick. It looks beautiful as well. The fact we only had a 1080p trailer on the State of Play, and it looks stunning, makes me just wonder how it's going to look in 4K ray tracing 60. If it has that, I'd imagine it at least has 4K. I'm excited for the game. Very much same as you, Davey. I'm probably going to buy it day one as well. The game looks cool, man. It's weird. It's weird. I completely agree with you. I never thought I'd be excited for it, but I am.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's out September 7th, and literally that cannot come soon enough for me. I mean, September is an absolute death month. And for that to be the game that I'm probably most excited by in September is just weird. It's just really weird. But that's the way it is. I guess I just love rabbits in mech armor. Take that how you will. So what about yourself, Spence? What was your favorite game shown?
My favorite game that was shown, I had two. And the first was Fist, which you've already covered, which means I agree with you. And the other was Death Stranding, Director's Cut, which I would imagine, because I know he's a biased son of a bitch, means I agree with Phil.
We finally got to a point in this podcast where you agree with both of us. Isn't this nice harmony? Can we just
crazy.
can we just take a second to enjoy this?
I don't like it. I feel like there's something coming, you know? I feel like this is one of those moments in a film where everything's perfect at the midpoint and it all falls apart. And then you got to bring the fucking gang back together. This is probably that point right now.
So, as you guys mentioned, we're getting a director's cut of Death Stranding. And there is loads of content. This is due for release on PS5 on the 24th of September 2021. And of course, this version will include all the PS5 features we've come to love. We're getting DualSense haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. The game will make use of the PS5's SSD to speed up loading times, as well as the 3D audio capabilities for that more immersive experience. PS5 players will get to pick from two modes. We'll get 60 FPS, which is upscaled to 4K, or another with native 4K, and both supports HDR. Existing owners of the PS4 can upgrade to Director's Cut, digital edition for $10. But me, looking online, it's looking like it's going to be around £40 for the physical edition. And save files will be able to transfer between PS4 and PS5.
That is incredible news. Only last episode, I was saying how disappointed I was with how Ghost was taking its director's cut and charging like an extra $30 to be able to upgrade it. To only pay £10 to go, or $10, it's going to be £10, I imagine, to go up to that next gen version with all that extra content, that is an absolute bargain. I cannot believe it. I knew I was going to be hyped about this anyway, but that is just exceptional value, especially compared to Ghost of Tsushima.
I remember your whole argument with Ghost of Tsushima, but recently it's been revealed that a new island being added to Ghost of Tsushima, is it Iki? I think it is. It's 15 to 20 hours of content. Did you hear about that? Has that changed your opinion at all?
As somebody who hasn't completed Ghost, I don't feel like I need the extra content. I would much prefer it to be a case that you don't have to pay to upgrade to the PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima, and then you pay for the DLC, which is well worth the price of entry at that point. But to have to spend £30 to upgrade it from a PS4 version of the game you already own, to pay an extra £10 to take it to the PS5 version on top of the DLC price, is where I have the issue.
But the issue of that is that it's 30 quid to upgrade it to PS5 standard, sure, and DLC. But you're saying for free you want it upgraded. You get it game boosted. As much as it's not the same as a PS5 port, you still get the enhanced experience, no load times. You do still get that for free.
You do.
You are paying 30 quid for the DLC, more or less.
But why should you pay an extra £10 more than PS4 owners then, if that's the case? Because you're paying an extra £10 for them to add haptics and trigger support. And his silence speaks words, because that is bullshit. It's bullshit. And this is why I'm so hyped on Death Stranding, because it's just £10, you upgrade it, and you get all that extra stuff. Absolute bargain.
You say all this extra stuff, but I haven't even mentioned the content that you actually get. So first up, the shooting has been expanded to include some new weaponry. There's some sort of electric gun that is featured in the trailer, and you can get hands-on with these weapons at the shooting range before you head out to take on those pesky mules. There's a much-needed update to the melee mechanics. In my opinion, that's probably the weakest part of Death Stranding. Sam's also got some new toys to make those deliveries a little bit smoother. We've got the cargo catapult, the support skeleton, the buddy bot, and the jump ramps. But guys, most importantly, there's going to be new missions, new fights, and new areas to explore, which will expand the original gameplay storylines. That's the part I'm excited about. I cannot wait to jump back into Death Stranding and walk around those mountains, see what's up. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, as somebody who's played 75% of the trophies worth for Death Stranding, this is the reason that would get me back to finish it and get the platinum. It really will. The thing that I'm really hyped about with these extra story missions, I want Higgs back. I really want to see more of Higgs. I really, really do. And either that or a bit more of Mama. Because I think those are the two characters that I didn't see. I didn't get enough of. I love those two characters. I didn't see enough. So I'm super hyped by this. Day one, I cannot wait. Completely opposed to the way that Ghost has done it. And I think this is a lot better value for money for existing players of the game.
There is one extra feature I haven't mentioned, and that's the fragile racing circuit. There's going to be a full-blown racing simulator within Death Stranding. How Hideo Kojima is that to just include a racing simulator within a game? That's just madness.
I mean, but who's going to be racing in anything other than those motorbikes? I mean, those motorbikes are absolutely busted. You wouldn't be going in there with the transport cargo truck, would you? I mean, even if that is the go to the entire game, that is my preferred vehicle. The motorbike's just busted in terms of speed.
Well, you're probably not going to get rated on deliveries when you're going around the fragile circuit, but who knows? Who knows?
It could be anything. Spence, I'm really interested to hear your opinion on this, because obviously you haven't played Death Stranding.
Similar to you boys, I'm going to say as well, Phil, for some reason during your whole speech at the start of this, your voice sounded well deep, it was well sexy, so I'm just going to keep that there. Death Stranding, I've not played it. This is the perfect reason for me to jump into this title, for me to experience the story, and then I got extra content. This is sick. I imagine you boys bought this game full price, 70 quid on launch, or 60 quid. I'm getting it for 40 quid on PS5. New experience. I've not been spoiled for anything because I'm a bit wary on social media because I keep up with like My Hero, Loki, Marvel, video games, all that nonsense. I'm buzzing. My only issue is I'm not sure whether I should buy the game PS5 physical or buy the game on PS4 and digitally upgrade it. Because I know that would be cheaper, but I would very much like to have that PS5 copy.
That was going to be my next question. Are you boys buying the digital upgrade or are you buying physical? I am straight physical. I want that baby on my shelf.
Nice.
Even for the £40, right? I've got the original. It's £10 or $10 to upgrade. I want the PS5 version on my shelf. I don't mind. I'll pay the 40.
Wow, Mr. Money in the Bank. I'm not doing that. I'm putting £10 down, getting that upgrade and saying thank you very much, Kojima-san. That's all I'm doing. But Spence, if I was you, I think this game is worth spending the £40 on and having the PS5 edition because honestly, this game is a work of art. It's a genius level game. It's amazing. It's honestly amazing. And I mean, me and Phil both included it in our top PlayStation games of the generation. You owe it to this game to buy it. You really do.
See, I literally listened to you. My intention when I heard about the director's cut was to just buy the game. I found it was like £10 to get it second hand. And then it doesn't even matter if second hand because you're digitally upgrading it. So what's the point? But knowing that there's a PS5 physical copy, it's nice having PS5 games. And I know Death Stranding is a special one. So I think, regardless of the fact that I know I could get the exact same thing for cheaper, I just want to see the PS5 on the top of the disc, on the top of the case. I want it on the list of my games. I want to be able to see it. So I think that is what I will end up doing. Unless I'm skint at the time of release. If I'm skint at the time of release, it's digital upgrade. But if I'm not, I'm getting it. I'm getting it PS5.
I think that's good. Sometimes you got to just put your money where your mouth is. And if you're supporting a game, and this is a very small audience who bought this game. It didn't blow up to the same level as like Ghost or, Last of Us or anything like that, right? Much smaller. But it's just unique. It deserves people to play it because you honestly haven't played anything like it before. And if you're like myself and Phil and you like Kojima's previous games, 9 times out of 10, I'd say you'd probably enjoy this because it is very Hideo.
That is one of my issues with it. Before I end up playing Death Stranding, I would like to experience the Metal Gear series. So I'm not going to play all of them, I don't think. I know 4 is a movie. So I intend to borrow your PlayStation Classic off you and play Metal Gear 1. And then I'll play freaking, what is it, Peace Walker, whatever it's called? Snake Eater.
No, Snake Eater, then
Snake
Peace
Eater.
Walker.
And then I'll watch Peace Walker. And then I have 5 already, but 5's long. And I'm definitely not nuking everything. I'm definitely not doing that ending at the end to get the platinum.
You've got your Vita, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No, it's gone. Long gone.
Ah. Why don't you borrow my Vita and play the Metal Gear collection on there?
Does it got 1, 2, and 3?
No, it's not got 1, but it's got 2 and 3.
Well, I'll do that. That's fine.
There you go.
I can't imagine playing Death Stranding without playing Metal Gear. Death Stranding is mental. But you need that leg up from Metal Gear to understand as a small percentage of Kojima's mind. Imagine playing Death Stranding without knowing anything about Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, it's crazy. The game's actually nuts. The game's nuts. But I suppose it's kind of being kind of acclimatized to that level of insane creativity that makes Death Stranding work. If you just went into it without knowing what the hell like that you're in for, like with nanomachines and everything else that's in Metal Gear, how crazy it all is, you'd be like, what? Why am I throwing piss and shit at ghosts? Why am I having a shower so I can refill my grenades? It just, it wouldn't work, but the game just somehow makes it work, and that's why it's a true level of genius. Listeners, this is where it's time for you to chime in. What was your favourite game shown at the show? Write in to the email, pswetrust@gmail.com,
You can join the conversation over on our Reddit. The URL will be in the description.
And you can always hit us up on Twitter at @ImpurestTrust or hit us up on our individual Twitters in the description below.
You can also find us on Match.com. So just have a look for us. You've got to be looking for females. Apparently they're called Edwina or whatever. But just have a look. I guess we're on there now too. So just check us out. And that's about it for this episode of In PS We Trust. Now I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
Hey guys, it's Davey here. I just finished the edit and it just dawned on me that I never used all my free shots I had to give out. And the rules of the podcast are, if you don't use them, you lose them, which sucks. But it's the way the cookie crumbles. And someone had to learn the lesson the hard way, and unfortunately, it was me. But anyway, thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.